All right, here we go, part 2. So what we, just to kind of back up, we've made these gray shadows below, which will create that 3D effect for the balls. We've created one sphere with a red, white, red, and black gradient, so it gives more of a lighting effect on here. We're ready to make our second sphere with a green. The thing I like about Aviary up here is it keeps telling you, reminder, make sure you save your work. So here we are, we're ready. We got 3 layers right now. We're going to add a new layer, and we're going to create that green sphere. So I'm going to add a layer, and then we're going to rename it. And we're going to call it green sphere. We're ready to go. I'm going to actually create that sphere the same way I created the red sphere. So I make sure that my sphere selection is selected, and then I'm going to, well, we'll hold off on the gradient. Let's make the sphere first. So I'm going to make the sphere first. I'm going to hold down the control key, and the green sphere is going to be a little bit smaller. Oops, I'm in the wrong piece. Let's undo that. We need the selection tool. There we go. Hold down the control key, and I'm going to make it about the same size as my shadow. Actually, let me redo that one. I'm going to undo and make it a little bit bigger. So there, about that size right there. I'm going to move it up into on top of the shadow. Push that over a little bit, line it up. There we go. Alright, so now it comes time to add my gradient, similar to what I did with the red. So it's already set to go with my 3 color idea. I'm going to double click on the middle one, and I'm going to choose a green for this one. I say OK down here, click OK. Changes my gradient to green, and I'm going to do the same exact kind of gradient line I did on the red sphere, only I'm going to do it on the smaller one on the green sphere. A little bit off to the right, I let go. There's my green sphere right there. So I've got 4 layers now. I'm going to go up to select, and I am going to select none. So there's my 2 spheres. I can, similar to Photoshop, I can actually change the direction, the layer of which these layers, the stacking pattern of these layers. If I wanted the green sphere on top, I could have it. If I wanted the shadow up on top, you see what happens. The shadows will move up on top. That's kind of an interesting feature, although I don't want to keep it that way, so I'm going to move the shadows back down. If I can, it seems to want to move it a piece at a time, so we'll move the shadow back down so that the spheres are on top of the shadow. So the layer palette works very similar to the way the Photoshop layer palette works. So great, a couple more steps and I'm done. I've got my red sphere and my green sphere. Another added thing that I'm going to do to that green sphere to make it look like it's in the background, make sure you're on the green sphere. We're going to add an effect to that, so I'm going to click on the layer filter, and here comes my effect panel up again, and we're going to click on the blur effect again, and keep in mind this is just affecting the green sphere below. We are going to change both of those settings to 8s. And you'll see what happens to the green sphere the minute you do that. So both blur X and blur Y are 8. And you notice right here, look at the green sphere now. It kind of matches, almost matches the blurring of the shadow. Again, gives you that picture of focal length where the red is definitely in the foreground and the green is in the background, a little bit blurred out. So to continue on with this piece as well, the background needs a little bit of blur too. So we're actually going to go to the background layer. And I'm actually going to change, we're going to throw a gradient on the background to allow it to look like give the picture a little bit of depth as well. In order to do that, I just need a 2-color gradient, so I'm going to grab the middle gradient triangle and I'm just going to drag it off to the right. And it gets rid of the 3rd color gradient. And I'm going to click on the black here, the second one, and I'm going to pick a light gray instead. Something like that, let's say. And we click OK. So now I go from gray to white right here. And what I'm going to do is quickly grab the gradient tool. I'm going to take it off linear or radial, and I'm going to go to linear. Going to keep it as pad. And what I'm going to do is go from the top left of the picture down to the bottom right. Oh, I actually went the wrong way. Let's redo that. undo. I'm going to go from the bottom right up to the top left to create a gradient where it's white on the bottom, and then again it just gives that whole picture some more depth. And that's pretty much it. I am going to save as. My picture is done. I'm going to call this my spheres. And I am going to keep it as is like that, and I'm going to say save as a new creation. It's going to take a minute to save. And it's basically going to save it to my documents, if you will. And then the last piece that you have to do is you have to copy this page URL and post it to Edmodo. That way when I get to the Edmodo piece, I can actually click on the URL and I'll be able to check out your picture right on Aviary. So that'll be pretty cool. We'll see you later for now.